How to Win and Influence People is not a bad book. I'm going to read that book, by the way. It's on my list of to be read. But the fact that you're reading that and I am reading the Mark of the Lion series by Francine Rivers, I'm learning things that have shaped philosophies for me. Good day wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in. This is Connecting the Dots, and I am IH the Connector. We've been talking about talents and opportunities and desires. I'd like to talk about another talent today. Today's show, I'm believing, will resonate with people who have something in common with me. We are storytellers, and it's been made to look like it's not a talent, but today this show is for us. It's for me and it's for you. Growing up, one of the things that my parents did that I am absolutely grateful for was they urged us to read. I remember my mom going on a trip and then she came back with a box of books of big sizes, like different books. And my mom didn't buy books that were this, like the books she bought, on the average, they were this thick. Some were thicker. And then she urged us, she told us, read. And she would tell us, my dad also told us to read. And they will tell us how you can travel in a book. You may never have gone to Ireland to walk the colorful meadows of Ireland, but when you read a book, you are there. And you may never walk as an astronaut in space, but when you read a book, you can sail through space. You may not be a pirate, but in a book, you get to be on the high seas in the worst pirate ship, and you're in the ship from a safe space. No one can attack you, because you are reading it in a book. And so they urged us to read. Then books, where I grew up, books used to be called novels. Then the books we read were called novels. And I'm not someone who really was wild about nonfiction. In fact, that's one of the ways I know I've grown up, is now I'm able to read nonfiction. But mostly I enjoy fiction. And then I came to school in Ghana, and they started calling them storybooks. And suddenly it sounded like I was reading Chike and the River or Drummer Boy. It didn't sound so serious. It sounded like you're a joker, you're reading a storybook. And so I became shy to say, I'm reading a novel or I'm reading fiction. If you are someone who is into literature and reading, I think this will resonate with you, I hope. It made us look like we're unserious. A few years ago, I was connected to a coach. Hi, Auntie Catherine. And I have to say thank you to her. I have to say thank you to Auntie Pat for believing in me and giving me the opportunity to be coached. So she was walking me through the different parts of my life and the different things that I'm engaged in. And when I got to this part, I started telling her that I write fiction and I know that it does not appear like a serious thing. And she said, no, it's a very serious thing. And then she told me different stories about writing fiction, different testimonies she had about it that I'm not going to go into because I don't want this episode to be super long. After having that conversation with her and then still having a conversation with my best friend, and we're talking about it. And so one day I was asking him, I was like, I don't think people take me serious because I do storybooks. I read storybooks. I tend to write storybooks. It's like, be serious, write nonfiction, write something motivational. And then we can see that you're grown up. You sound like a 16-year-old who's living in storybooks. But I will never forget what he told me. So I was telling him that, the books I even have in mind to write, they're stories. People don't take them serious. And he told me something. He said, I always taught in a story. It's actually said of me that I would never teach the people without a story. Jesus was a storyteller. He sat and he would tell stories. And in those stories, he was teaching them about the kingdom. He would tell them about a sower, went out to sow, and this is what happened. It's a story, but there was something in it. Then he would tell them about the virgins. It's a story, but there's something in it. He tells them about the talents. It's a story, but there's something in it. He tells them about the landowner who traveled, and then the citizens beat his servants, and then they killed his son. It's a story, but he was teaching something. He tell them about the pearl, hidden pearl of great value. It's a story. He said, I tell stories. That is how I have taught them. So if you tell stories, don't ever feel like you're doing something unserious, and don't feel like it is not a talent. That is how I, the creator of the universe, that's how I've chosen to teach. As a matter of fact, all I've been doing has been put into one word that is his story, and it's called history. Whoever coined that word is like they really got it, because history is him telling a story through time. So if you are like me and you're a storyteller, you write stories or you read stories, and there's a cross section of the world that somehow tries to trivialize what you do or makes it look like you're unserious about what you're doing, don't scrap that talent. Don't throw it away. That's how the creator of the world chose to teach us. He taught us in stories. Our stories are valid. Our stories are valid. Don't throw it away. Don't throw away that talent. Still read that book. Just be sure that as you read it, you are getting what is in it for you. I learned from stories. I told someone, I said, I may read fiction, and it's like, you are reading How to Win and Influence People. It's not a bad book. I'm going to read that book, by the way. It's on my list of to be read. So it's not a bad book. But the fact that you're reading that, and I am reading As Sure as Dawn, or the Mark of the Lion series by Francine Rivers, I am learning from Francine Rivers why I'm learning things that have shaped philosophies for me. Don't trivialize it because I'm not reading that, So I don't know who this resonates with. I don't know if it's for you, but I want to believe that there are people out there who are watching, and like me, you are a storyteller, and somehow you have felt like you have to hide that talent because it looks like it's not serious. It is serious. So rise up, join me, and let's tell our stories. Who else will tell it for us if we don't tell it ourselves? Thank you for listening today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.